faster, and that's why Jeff has so graciously allowed me to speak with you guys today. So today we're going to talk about how to strengthen your gut-brain connection without overhauling your entire diet. So today we're going to talk about understanding the gut-brain connection, indicators of gut dysfunction, what you can do today walking out the door immediately to change your gut health, and for people who are interested in moving forward with digging deeper, I have a QR code for you at the end, but it is at the end. This is not a salesy presentation. So a little bit about me. My name is Dr. Cheryl, and I am a chiropractor. I went to school to be a sports chiropractor. Done that for quite a number of years. Been in the business for about 20 years. I also played women's pro football for about 12 years. Before that, I played college soccer. Played on an international team in soccer. Got to fly around the world and do some pretty cool stuff. And these days, I was in the corporate space, and now I'm here coming in. So what does that look like? Cards. My cards are in the back. If you want to connect, there's a QR code on the back of my card. It sends you to my link tree. So if you're interested in social media stuff, it's on there. I have a welcome video. It takes you to my website. If you are interested in moving forward, there's also a QR code for that inside. So a little bit about my history, so you know who is in front of you today. My history, as I mentioned, I played soccer and I played football. I've had too many concussions to count. I had some severe issues starting around 2007, and they included, my biggest issue was sleep. And we'll talk about sleep next month, because this is a series, so we'll talk about sleep next month. But I had some concentration issues. I had some anxiety and depression issues. My hormones were a mess, and the specialists couldn't figure it out. Light sensitivity, auditory sensitivities, and I wasn't understanding how to correct these things. So this is what pushed me into this new pivot of digging into root causes. And I saw everybody that you could imagine to try to fix my stuff. I wasn't just complacent saying, oh, poor me. I was actively trying to figure out what was going on. From natural woo-woo to specialist, medical, let's take some biopsies and give you some chemicals. So everything in between. As I mentioned, blood tests, urine tests, biopsies, hair analysis, you name it, I feel like I tried it. And nothing was really working until I discovered root cause medicine. Root cause medicine, we'll get into it in a minute. But CTE and suicide, I really did think that that was my path after so many concussions and not being able to unravel what my body was doing. And I'm very, very thankful to be one of those that I don't give up. I like to go down the rabbit hole, and I dig, and I ask why. And I want you guys also, I'm gonna present some stuff. It's stuff that I've researched. I want you to ask why. I want you to go back and take it and say, is this true for me or is this not true? Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. I'm just introducing you to some stuff. So, today I am in a much, much better place. I am still work in progress, but I am in a much better place. Depression has lifted. A lot of my medical issues have disappeared. If my knees and my shoulder would allow me, I would absolutely be on the football field, but that's not in the cards. So let's talk a little bit about root cause medicine. So right here, you know, a beautiful tree. We have all these leaves. Can't really see it on this screen. So these leaves, those are your symptoms. So we're looking at impaired immune system, memory loss, insomnia, joint pain, skin irritations, all sorts of things that happen that we feel. In the middle here, this is where traditional medicine lives. This is where functional medicine lives. Inflammatory responses, mental health issues, opportunistic pathogens. That's where I lived as a chiropractor. That's where most of us live, because this is what we've been taught and told. It wasn't until I found foundational medicine, which is root cause medicine. Why are these things happening? We don't need medications to correct these things. What we need to do is pull the stuff away that's creating the problem. So heavy metals, parasites, mitochondrial dysfunction. That's the powerhouse of the cell. That's how you have energy and can stay upright and doing the things that you want to do. It's the mitochondria. Mycotoxins, that means mold. chemical exposures, environmental chemicals. So if we can pull this stuff away, if this stuff doesn't happen, we don't have symptoms. Does that make sense so far? All right, I leave this slide in here. This presentation is not about CTE, but this is the reason why I got into what I'm doing. These are the deaths that have happened recently. You can see here, 41% of 152 high school and college athletes in 2023, CTE dead, under 30. It's a big problem. And that's the reason I went into it, so that's why I leave this slide in, for people to understand that we can reverse what's going on in the brain. We can make sure that our athletes are not committing suicide by making sure we're pulling away the stuff that I was just mentioning so that they can be healthy. This is how you heal the brain. All right. So as I was going through all of this stuff, I realized that my CTE problems, my root cause stuff, has a very large audience. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here for you guys today. We're talking about people that play contact sports. We're also talking about non-athletes. We're talking about golfers. We're talking about swimmers. We're talking about people who just want to pick up their grandkids. So this affects everybody. So I'm going to take a pause here, and we're going to talk about premise statements. So the rest of the presentation makes a little bit more sense. These are statements that I believe to be true. You don't have to believe them. Make up your own mind. First one is that the body is a self-healing and it is self-regulating. We have innate inside of us. We were born with it. I believe that we are all designed to move and be athletic. We're all designed to sit, stand, run, play, move around. And I also believe that our body is always striving to be at 100%. It doesn't take a day off. It always, always, always is going to give you everything it's got. Sometimes it's not what we want. Maybe it's not enough that we think we should get out of it. But your body is always trying to be the best that it possibly can. It doesn't take a day off. I also believe that symptoms are messengers. They're not the end all be all. They're just a red flag saying something's wrong. Pay attention. I believe that the body is capable of healing and reversing disease and traumas. Cancers, tumors, hormonal problems. You break a leg. We break an arm. I really believe, and there's evidence to show that our body's going to heal. Our health is a reflection of our environment. Now, research has shown that our genes are expressed, but the determinant is our environment by 95%. If you have a crappy environment, the bad genes are going to come out. If you're in a good environment, those bad genes will never turn on. So you have a lot of control over what your gene expression is going to be. 95% control. And something else that I believe, and it depends on what side of the political spectrum you live on, you may or may not disagree, or you may or may not agree, is that our environment is much different than it was 50 years ago. Our food sources are different, the chemicals that we encounter are different, and we need to figure out ways to adapt and be resilient to our current environment. So agree or disagree, those are my premise statements. Now when you see this guy here, this means it's on the worksheet. There's an answer on the worksheet. So what did I play? Yes, I played football. So if you want to write down the answers, good on you. I'm not collecting them. This is not a test, it's not a quiz, but some people do enjoy being able to be active in a competition. So when you see this guy, that means that there's an answer on that page. All right, so let's talk about what you came here to talk about, the gut-brain connection.
I have a quick question. Sorry to interrupt. Are we supposed to be doing something other than just eating this for pleasure, or I heard a specific number of chews? Is
Yes.
this part of the, are we contributing feedback about the food?
We will get there in a second, but yes, enjoy it for now.
Okay. All right.
20 chews for the brownies and 30 chews for the nuts before you swallow each bite.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so this is your gut. This is inside your gut, inside your intestines. That's what it looks like. You have a little alveoli that come out and they grab onto the nutrients and they send it through your system so that you can go do the things that you want to go do. So that is just a picture of the inside of your guts. So we're going to get into a little bit of the physiology here. So these are the little alveoli that I just showed you. These are your tight cells. You can see that they are shoulder to shoulder. They are nice and tight. The junctions are super tight inside your gut. That is a healthy gut. That's what you want to see. And what keeps those cells shoulder to shoulder and nice and tight are little electric impulses. And then comes the human. Then we introduce toxins. And you probably can't read it, it's pretty small. But things like alcohol, you don't eat enough nutrients, you have food additives, you introduce things like gluten. And what happens is that creates inflammation, so a bunch of toxins inside your gut. Let me give you a little orientation. This is inside your gut, this is your gut lining, and I'll show you here in a second, this is going to be the bloodstream. So when you have toxins inside the gut, it creates inflammation, and it doesn't allow for those electrical impulses to happen. So your junctions get weak. They start to sway back and forth. They let go. They're not arm in arm anymore. They kind of get lazy. Now what happens is you have leaky junctions. So they're no longer arm in arm. They're no longer nice and pink. They're kind of discolored. They get kind of weak. They open up. They get to a point where they allow big gaps in between the cells. And that's what those leaky junctions are. So with more inflammation and more leaky junctions, you can see that the things that are inside your gut, they're able to go through the spaces. From the spaces, they go into your bloodstream. Bloodstream goes the rest of your body. And that is what leaky gut is, in very simple terms. You guys all heard of leaky gut, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So that is what leaky gut is. You have stuff that is inside your intestines that is supposed to stay inside your intestines. It leaks out into the rest of your body and goes into your blood system. So I just told you the answer. It's not on that sheet. What are toxins causing?
Inflammation.
You got it, inflammation. Inflammation, we know, is the underlying problem for all sorts of diseases, whether it be brain diseases, body diseases, skin diseases. We know that inflammation is a problem. And there are a number of experts out there that will tell you so. All right, here's this guy. It means it's on that paper. So what is leaky gut? Leaky gut is when the epithelial inside of your intestines lining becomes permeable and food, bacteria, proteins, etc. escape into the bloodstream. So permeable and bloodstream are your answers. So if we have leaky gut, we automatically have leaky brain. We have very similar tissues in the gut and the brain. So if we're having problems down here, automatically think that your brain is being affected. So you can see we have the bloodstream. Everything's come up from our bloodstream, or from our intestines into the bloodstream, circulating. We know that our brain is up here. We have those leaky junctions. It can go right to our brain. So we're talking about viruses, we're talking about heavy metals, we're talking about all sorts of gross stuff that we don't want to go to our brain. So why is that a problem? So we just said that toxins cause inflammation. Inflammation causes permeability, both in the gut and in the brain, which creates tissue dysfunction. They're no longer arm in arm, our junctions, and that makes you feel like crap. So you have symptoms, you don't feel good, you can have, if you don't address it, that develops into disease, and then disease turns into disease. So we want to make sure that we address it before it gets to that point. So we talked about the gut, we talked about the brain, but they're in two different parts of the body. So how do they talk? They talk through the vagus nerve. They talk through the bloodstream, but the vagus nerve is the primary way in which your brain and your gut talk to each other. So it's a superhighway. We have lots of neurons. So when we talk about the vagus nerve, it is bidirectional. So your brain talks to your gut talks to your brain. If you've ever gotten butterflies at your brain, something that you've encountered emotionally, talking to your gut, saying, I'm nervous. You have a stomach bug, you maybe have a virus. This doesn't feel good either. You just want to sleep. You don't feel good. So it's bidirectional. So what we know is if we alter the gut health, we reduce toxins, we make sure that the gut is not permeable, we can also improve our focus, our mood, our energy, because there it is. Does that make sense so far? All right, here's this guy again. What is the brain-gut connection? Gut-brain connection is when your stomach and your intestines talk to your brain, and your brain talks back using signals and chemicals. The signals and chemicals are from the vagus nerve, those are neurons and neurotransmitters. All right, the next one. The gut can influence emotions and mood. It's a big one. When your digestive system experiences discomfort or distress, it can contribute to feelings of anxiety or sadness. So mood, distress, and anxiety are your answers. All right. So how do we know? How do we know if we have dysfunction in our gut? Well, we have symptoms. We have triggers. We have signs. We have little red flags. Yes?
Is it okay if I take a picture of this scan?
Absolutely. Yes. So poor decision making. That is a big one. This list is not exhaustive. These are just examples. So sleep disorders, having problems sleeping. Usually there's a problem within the gut. If you have anxiety, depression, mood disorders, we know that we can look towards the gut to be able to address those things. Low energy is probably the number one thing. People just feel sluggish. They don't want to get out of bed. They don't want to go do things. They don't want to go do the things that they normally do. So low energy is one of the first indications. How else can you figure out if you have a gut problem? Skin irritations, dry skin, psoriasis, acne. Those are all things that are telling us that we have bad bacteria versus good bacteria. Our bad bacteria is overpowering our good bacteria. Not pooping. I talk a lot about poop. I was a little nervous about talking about poop initially, but I'm over it. I'm not embarrassed anymore. Let's talk about poop. So you should be pooping 1 to 3 times a day. If you are not, that is a problem. 1 to 3 times a day, and it should be a pretty good volume. It should be nice and smooth like a snake. If you have little balls, that's too dry. If it's mushy, it's too wet. So we want to have nice solid poops. If that's not happening, we have gut dysfunction, gut brain dysfunction. Bad breath means that, again, that your bad bacteria is overpowering your good bacteria if you have bad breath. White coated tongue. You see some people have more of a white tongue versus a nice pink bright tongue. That's an indication. If you have toenail fungus, that is a big indicator that your gut is in trouble. Fingernails or toenails. Big one, people don't realize, almost everybody does this, stink. Stink. Your armpits stink, your genitals stink, your feet stink. If there is an odorous thing coming from your body, you have bacteria that is your bad bacteria overpowering your good bacteria. So we all need to pay attention to that one. And we'll get into fragrances. Oh, drives me nuts. All right, so you can see, what does that actually mean? It means maybe you're not having a great day with your spouse. It means maybe you're a little frustrated with all the medicines that you're on. Can't sleep. Work's frustrating. Can't keep up with the kids. These come out, we don't necessarily say, oh, I have low energy. It's like, oh my God, the kids are driving me nuts. I just want to nap. Right? All right, so this one's worth a giveaway. Ice pack, one of my favorite things. I love these things. I've gone through, I've had ice packs like this in my freezer for about 15 years. I've only destroyed about 2 of them. In about 15 years, they hold up pretty well. So, who can tell me, what is the biggest mistake people make when addressing gut issues?
Antacids?
It's close, but no, not the one I'm looking for. Who else wants to take a guess?
They misinterpret it for something else.
That's also a good answer, but not the one I'm looking for. This one's a little bit of a tricky question. Anyone else want to give it a go?
Ignore their blood work.
That's also a good one, but not the answer I'm looking for.
Medicate?
There we go. No.
Okay.
That's, yeah, an antacid. Similar, very similar. Good try,
Not
guys.
addressing the nervous system.
I'm sorry?
Not addressing the nervous system.
Yes, that is also true, not the answer I'm looking for. You want to try again?
Yeah, I'll try to. They eat.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That is a good one. Not the answer I'm looking for. Here's the answer that I'm looking for.
That's a good one.
I thought that was.
Let's throw some probiotics at it. Let's just expect the probiotics to do it. Well, I'm here to tell you that yes, probiotics can work, but they need a certain circumstance. This is not the answer right off the hop. This is an answer further down the road. So, I want to ask you, can a palm tree live far away from the equator? We went up to Alaska and we planted a bunch of palm trees. Would they survive?
No.
No, it's because the terrain is not correct. So similar, gut bugs need a terrain in which they can live. So if we created a terrain that is inhospitable for them, they're just going to die. So we throw good probiotics down our throat, we spent good money on them, we consume them, our gut is terrible for them, our gut kills them, and then we poop them out. So we've just spent money and done no good. What we have to do first is make sure that the gut is hospitable for those good gut bugs. So be a good host. All right, so just talked about this, heal the gut by removing the toxins. And then you can add probiotics after the gut is in a good place. You can repopulate when the terrain is correct. All right, here's this guy again. The number one biggest mistake people make when trying to improve their gut health is that they take probiotics. And the key here is without removing toxins first.
I have a dumb question.
Question?
Yeah. Probably very simple, but I'm not. Toxins. So toxins from my gut could be different for somebody else's gut.
Not typically, we're all human. So we'll get into some of the toxins here in a few minutes. And if you still have that question, I'm happy to come back to it. Okay? All right, so if I have time, I'm going to come back to this case study. So this is what you came here for. You came here for tips that you could actually walk away today and be able to implement and not disrupt your entire diet. So tip number 1, you don't have to eliminate all foods and lifestyle choices. My point here is swap them out for something better. For example, we know that peanuts and peanut butter, they contain a ton of mold. Not only are our kids allergic to it because of we'll get into vaccines another time, but there's the reason why kids have protein allergies is because the protein that they attach to the vaccines are put into the kids. The kid's body says, wait, I don't like that virus thingy that they just inserted, and it's attached to the protein of the peanut. So now the kid's body says, oh, peanuts are bad. So now we have a peanut allergy. So not only is that a problem, but for people who don't have a peanut allergy, peanuts are full of mold. So we want to avoid those. What you can do is swap it out for almond butter or cashew butter. And then you'll hear people talk about lectins and all sorts of things. So if you do almond butter, you want to make sure that the sheath of the almond was peeled away before they actually made the almond butter. Wheat and oats, yes.
Is it on the label with almond butter?
Usually it is, especially the natural stuff, less processed stuff.
What would it say?
What would it say?
Mm-hmm.
It would say raw or it would say peeled.
Gotcha.
Wheat and oats. So Jeff and I were just talking about oats. So there's a misnomer. Again, do your own research. But there is a misnomer about oats being good for you. So oatmeal. How we produce oats and wheat and several other grains, particularly in the United States, is that we throw a bunch of herbicides on them, glyphosate. And that is inside the actual grain. So you can't just wash it off. It's inside the grain. And as you consume that is a toxin. And it is one of those things that is highly, highly known to create inflammation. Inflammation in the gut particularly. We know if we have inflammation in the gut, we have inflammation in the brain. So wheat, which is gluten, and oats are things that you'll want to avoid. So instead, have gluten-free brownies. That is all gluten-free. There's no wheat in that. That is King Arthur. You can get it at Kroger. It's relatively cheap in comparison to what gluten-free stuff used to be. So enjoy your gluten-free brownies over there. Fake sugars. High fructose corn syrup, aspartame, Splenda. We all know, if you look at the research, those all cause cancer. We don't want cancer. So use real sugar, use cane sugar, the old school stuff. Use honey, made by bees. Make sure you read the labels when you go to the grocery store, that it's only honey, not other stuff. You go to Costco a lot of times, they'll put extra stuff in their brands. Maple syrup, pure maple syrup, not stuff that's supplemented with high fructose corn syrup. So pure maple syrup, natural stuff. You can cook with maple syrup, it's great. You'll want to swap out your canola oils and your vegetable oils for butter that is made from milk from cows who have been grass-fed. Again, if we're feeding our cows grain, they have leaky gut. They're letting all of those toxins circulate through their blood system, and then they're producing your food. So you're consuming what they ate. So grass-fed butter, olive oil, and Jeff and I were also talking about this, the canola oils, vegetable oils, how they are produced, how they get the oil out of the original product is what makes it so bad. It's over-processed, yes?
What are your thoughts on coconut sugar and coconut instead of?
Depends on how it's processed. Totally depends on how it's processed. Cold press is best. I would take coconut oil over most of those other vegetable oils. So it's somewhere in between. Commercial milk versus that is natural milk. I hope you get a chance to taste it. It is different than the stuff that you're going to drink in the store. It's non-homogenized. It is pasteurized. So pasteurized means that they warmed it up to kill the bacteria. Homogenized means that it has the fat globulins that our human body can actually absorb. The stuff in the stores, the commercial stores, it's homogenized, which means they force it through a screen and they break up all the fat globulins. And it's not, we can't process it as humans. It's not in the the right format. So, non-homogenized, natural milk, and it's in a glass bottle. And that's from Calder's Dairy. And if you like it, if it's something that you continue want to drink, some people don't want to do milk at all, but if you want milk, this is a great alternative. It was $4.09 in a glass bottle, and they will deliver to you here in Metro Detroit. So it's local.
409.
I'm sorry?
409 for how much?
That was a half gallon.
Oh, half gallon, okay.
Yeah.
This milk is really good.
Like,
wow.
It's so good. It's so good.
Sorry.
So what makes it? Yes, go ahead.
So I just did a very broad panel of blood and food sensitivity, blood work and so forth, and learned that I have a casein sensitivity. There's two different kinds of casein tests, it looks like. One of them came back normal, the other was, I think, slightly out of range, and so I've stopped as much as I can. I think it was Fairlife shakes, protein shakes that I was drinking, which seemed to be causing some problems for me. But I love cheese, yogurt, those kinds of things. So what are your recommendations on that?
I say most people have issues with the A1 protein casein protein. A2 is absorbable in the human body. So I would ask you to look at your tests and see was it A1 or A2, which pop positive. And if that is the case, then you can still have cheeses, you can still have milks. You just have to make sure that you're getting it from a cow that produces A2 protein. Now your Holstein cows, which is your commercial cows, they can produce upwards of 30 gallons per day. That's why they're used in the commercial sense, because they can produce so much milk. But they're A1 protein. The local farmer, they have Swiss, brown Swiss, they have Jersey, and they have Guernsey cows. Those are the types of cows that produce the A2 protein. So it's where the milk is coming from is really important for you. So Calder's, they have cheese, they have all sorts of dairy products. Make sense?
Thank you.
Obviously, swapping out the processed foods for whole foods. If you can eat an apple versus the applesauce, eat the apple. What was that?
Unless you make the applesauce.
Unless you make the applesauce. And so
I
you
did
still
yesterday.
distilled water. So we could do a whole 2 hours on water. But I recommend distilled water over filtered water, tap water. We know that there are over 80,000 chemicals and toxins within our water system, in our tap water. Now, our municipalities, they test for just a few of them. And they don't test for statins. They don't test for birth control. They don't test for mold. They don't test for a lot of stuff. And they're saying, oh, it's great. Go ahead and drink it. So what I recommend is that you distill your water that's coming out of your tap before you consume it, before you cook with it. Some people go so far as installing shower heads so those chemicals aren't falling on their skin. Coffee. I love coffee. I drink a lot of it. But make sure that if you're drinking coffee, that it is from a reputable company that tests for mold. Peanuts and coffee are in the top couple of foods that are known to have mold in them. Consuming mold, toxin, inflammation, problems. So if you're going to drink coffee, make sure that it is mold free. Swap.
Where does spring water fit into that equation?
I knew you were going to ask a hard question.
Yeah.
So it depends on where the spring is from, but we do know throughout the world, because of the pollution in the air, that even the most pristine springs in the top of the mountain, they're still polluted. So my recommendation at this point, we know that, as I mentioned earlier, our world is different than it was 50 years ago. 50 years ago, been great, drink out of the stream. Nowadays, I think we need to adapt, and we distill our water.
Reverse osmosis systems for raw water.
So yes, it's good, and distilling is better. We know that distilling pulls out more. I have a chart. I don't think it may be on my website. It's definitely in my programs. I know I have it in my programs. I don't know if I have it like out on the website. But if you look up mypurewater.com, they have a chart that shows the difference between filtered water, reverse osmosis, and distilled. Commercial chickens, local farm raised. I say you get your meat from local farms. We know that they're cared for, they're outside, they get to eat the bugs, they get to scratch the grass, get to run around. We know that the commercial chickens, they mature in about 6 weeks, which is insane. If I grew up on a hobby farm, I have my own homing pigeons, I still keep animals. That's insane, that's way too fast. How can you get good nutrients out of something that grows that fast on grain? So try to find something that is local. So my whole point with this, and this is not an exhaustive list, obviously, but my point with this is, you don't have to change exactly what you're eating, just swap it out for something healthier. You can still drink milk, you can still drink coffee, you can still do the things you want to do, just find a different source that is more nutrient based. All right, this goes back to the brownies and the nuts. So how many times should you chew your food each bite? Who can tell me? 20 to 30 times, yes, okay. If that's all you walk out with today, then this was a success. Please chew your food every bite, 20 to 30 chews. It is so critical that we signal to our brain and our intestines that food is coming so that we can break it down and get the nutrients out of it. We have enzymes in our spit that we circulate with the food, and that helps the initial breakdown of food in our digestive process. Don't make it harder on your body than it needs to be.
So if we don't do 20 to 30 times, we're just making it harder on our gut to process the
Process it
food.
all, yes,
So it just takes longer for it to process.
it does. And you may be picking out food that is not fully digested. Some people will see that because you not only do you have inflammation, but you're making it really hard for your body to work through that process. So that's another indication. You see food in your poop, it's not broken down, you're definitely gut dysfunction. So we want to make sure that we give our body every chance to get the nutrients out of the food. All right, here's tip number 3, avoid non-food products that are toxic. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So again, not an exhaustive, I mean, we could talk for days and days and days and days and days on these things. So these are just a few examples. So plastic storage containers, Tupperware, swap it out for glass. We know that it's petroleum based. If it's plastic, those toxins go into your system, creating inflammation. It's an easy swap, and they clean a lot easier. Glass containers, in my opinion, over the plastic. Plastic cooking utensils, use stainless steel. And you're worried, oh, I might scratch my pan. Well, you're probably using the wrong kind of pan. You're probably using a non-stick pan. I highly suggest that you switch out for cast iron or stainless steel. You know all that black non-stick stuff on our pans? It's been proven over and over again that it causes cancer, particularly abdominal cancers. Dishwasher pods, Tide Pods. People don't think about you're wearing toxins constantly. So if we can get rid of some of the toxins in our dishwasher detergent, our laundry detergent, it's going to make your gut so much healthier, and again, we don't have to change so much in our diet because we're not adding so many chemicals on a daily basis other ways. So Dirty Labs is a great opportunity to switch over to your dishwasher detergent. It does clean your dishes in a more natural way. And Molly Suds is an example. There are lots out there, and they're relatively inexpensive. Something else that I like to talk about with my clients in particular is your toothpaste. So we talked about bad breath, we talked about enzymes being able to digest your food, and that comes down to having good bacteria in your mouth. So what Crest and Colgate, even though they have fantastic marketing campaigns and they tell you that theirs is the best and you're going to whiten your teeth, blah, 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 what they're doing is they're killing all the bugs, good and bad. So what we want to do is we want to keep the good bugs, and we want to keep the bad bugs in control. So a different option is Revitin. I really like Revitin. It does not foam up like a normal toothpaste, but you wake up and you don't have morning breath. It helps heal the gum line so you don't have sensitivities. It takes a minute if you've been using the other stuff, but the sensitivities go away because you're allowing the good bacteria to replenish the cells in your mouth. So toothpaste is a big one. And I could go on and on about perfumes and fragrances. I won't go too far into it, but what are the scent beads that are all over TV? Oh, it smells so good. Fantastic, it smells good, but it's also creating hormone disruptors. So guys can't get an erection, ladies have hair on your chin. It's fragrances. All of the Febreze stuff that you plug into the wall, fragrances. People walk around and they've got to spray stuff all over themselves because they stink. Fragrances. Use essential oils. Or just be clean. Yes?
What are your thoughts on coconut oil pulling?
One more time?
Oil pulling?
Oil pulling. Tell me more about that.
Like you just put coconut oil in your mouth and it affects the bacteria. You just put that.
I have heard people have, I have not tried it myself. I have heard people had pretty good success with that. I would have to look further into it for myself to be able to give you a really great opinion. But if you've got an opinion, I'd like to hear it.
I do it like every day. I really like it. It's just one of the good ones.
Okay. And why did you start that?
Well, I had bad breath and it helped with that. It also helps like as a natural whitening.
Fantastic. There you go. So I'm not opposed to it. All right, here's this guy again. What are 3 simple changes you can do to support your gut? Swap out your food choices, chew your food, avoid plastics and chemicals. All right, so here are some of the reasons why people ignore what we just talked about. Takes too long, costs too much, belief it won't work for them. So let's talk about time. So most people have heard this quote: when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Right now. So we can't go in the past, we can't change things, but we can change things from this moment forward and make things a lot better. So it's probably taken years to get to where you're at, good or bad. It's going to take some time to unravel whatever is going on. I recommend starting with micro changes. One of those suggestions. Try one suggestion. Don't do them all. Just one. Switch out your plastic containers for glass containers. It's a really good start. Something that is pretty cool to witness is that when you start eating differently, eating healthier, more nutrient-dense vegetables, fruits, vegetables, proteins, your body starts to crave the good stuff. It no longer craves the sugar. If you feed it sugar, it's going to crave the sugar. You feed it good stuff, it's going to crave the good stuff. The body's pretty cool about that. Many times you can see changes in 1 to 2 weeks. Some people see it in days. And this whole presentation is about progress over perfection. I don't expect anybody to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm for sure not perfect. But we can continue to work towards that. All right, cost. So this is a good one. If you think the pursuit of health is expensive and time-consuming, you try illness. So if anybody here has experienced a family member or themselves who has had issues, my dad died of cancer, it's expensive. It's really freaking expensive. One of his medications that did not help, by the way, was $30,000 a pill. It was going to break the bank. They were going to take the house, and it was so he could have this medication. Really expensive, $30,000 a pill. So, what is it worth to you to avoid serious disease? What is it worth to you to be able to pick up your kids and your grandkids? Is there a specific goal? I know you have a specific goal. What is it worth to you? So here I pulled up This is according to the NIH and CDC, what it costs for traditional healthcare. Guys, hormonal problems, hormonal issues, 5 to 15,000 per individual in your lifetime. How about headaches? $50,000 to $100,000 on average per individual. Dementia, talk about dementia and CTE. You know that CTE leads to dementia, and that usually leads to death. You're looking at $37,000 per individual. Pretty darn expensive. So $4.09 for a half gallon of milk, that's worth it to me. You make your own choice. All right, it won't work for me. So if you don't have the data to prove that it's not going to work for you, just keep looking. So we talked a little bit about traditional medicine versus foundational medicine and the cost of traditional medicine. And we do know that the belief that it's not going to work for you does make a difference, but it doesn't make as much a difference as chemistry and physiology. And usually when I talk to people and they're like, I've tried everything, and I ask, okay, so what did you try? What did you try? Well, I tried this, I tried this, I tried this. You usually get stuck at 3 things. And I want to ask you, if you've tried everything, what have you really tried? Try to name them. Name them off. And if there's anything on that list that we talked about before that you haven't tried, try it. And then my question usually is, what if testing could shed light on answers? What if we could actually have some hard data? And what if you could be in the driver's seat instead of allowing the medical model to be in the driver's seat? So this is what I test for. This is, I told you it's not going to be salesy. I'm going to give you an introduction of what I can do, and then we're going to move back into some takeaways. So what we can test for. We can test for biotoxins. We can test for environmental toxins. We can do blood work. We can do urine. We can do micronutrient testing. We can test for your neurons, what's going on in your brain. And again, that's why I got into this. So I have a lot of neuron stuff that I like to test for. We can talk about inflammation in the GI gut. And I use a customized approach. As you said, not everybody's the same. So we find the data that is appropriate to you, and then we use that data to make a plan that works for each individual. So this is what my signature process looks like. We do a discovery process, and that's where we do the testing. We have restore, where we pull out the toxins with a detox. We usually use supplementation and some lifestyle changes to do that. And then we optimize with brain therapies, with other types of therapies, and some longevity, pretty cool tools. And then we sustain. I don't want you to go backwards. I want you to keep it. I don't want you to need me forever. So we want to sustain it. So we give you tools to be able to sustain the gains that you've made. So what is the first step in the signature process? It's discovery. We look for the data. We allow the data to tell us where to go. All right, so this is what it looks like to work with me. Initially booking a call. That call, we'll talk one-on-one together. And on that call, we're going to determine what the next steps are going to look like. You're in full control. If you want to move forward, we do a discovery. That's the testing. We create a care plan, and we make sure that you are on a good track. So before we can book a call, I want you to know that we're going to go over 3 different assessments. It's a 45-minute consult with me one-on-one. We're going to review what you put in those assessments so that we can create a game plan. You have a game plan when we walk away. You get a chance to say, yeah, this is cool. No, this is not for me. And you should know how much it's going to cost and what the timeline looks like after that initial consult. So usually the investment for me is just under $600. But we're here and I'm doing a presentation and you've invested by being here in your own health. So I typically cut it down to $97. However, these guys are awesome and they're sponsoring anybody who wants to jump on. So there is no risk. If you decide that you do want to go forward, go through the assessments, see if you can figure out some data on yourself. Like I said, no risk. These guys are sponsoring anybody who wants to jump on. So there's a QR code. All you have to do is scan the QR code. There's also I'll put this on the back. It's the same thing, same QR code, because I'm gonna move on from this slide. So feel free to scan that. That's gonna take you to $0 as for the initial consult. And it's only for people here in the room. So all the replay people, sorry. That, you'll have that in All right, so let's talk about what we talked about. We talked about understanding the gut-brain connection. We talked about some indicators of your gut dysfunction. And we also talked about what you can do walking out here today without investing in any of that. So exchange your foods for better choices, chew your foods, and avoid non-food toxic items. Alright, so I want to remind you this is a series, so if you've enjoyed it or you found some value in it, please come back, tell your friends. Next time we're going to be talking about sleep. It's beyond the sleep aids, how to sleep like a champion. It's here, 2:30. Right now we've got them scheduled on the second Tuesday of the month. So we're going to give you a quarter for sure, and if things go well, you guys are enjoying it, you get enough value out of it, these guys want to continue, we'll do it the rest of the year, but we're going to give it a test run for 3 or so times. And there'll be an email that goes out if you want to keep an eye out for that for registration. And I do prefer that you register because then I can prepare for if I want to bring anything. I don't know if we have enough chairs.
We'll make sure we get enough.
All right, key takeaways. I'm all ears. Tell me the good, tell me the bad. What are you walking out of this office today with?
Why doesn't your general practitioner test for some of the things when we do blood tests?
That's a great question. Because they're wrapped up in the medical model. So the medical model is driven by power and money, as most things. And schools like to have their own bubble. They are taught that this is the only way things are done. And this is what the insurance companies will pay for. So they're a little handcuffed as well as these doctors, because they want to get paid and the insurance company is not going to pay for a lot of this testing. The testing, the data that we do, is not covered. The insurance companies just flat out say no. One of the reasons is and Jeff and I were talking about this, it's a cycle. If the medical model can keep you sick
Yeah.
or healthy enough.
Well, big pharma is what's driving everything.
Exactly.
I know the answers to it,
Yeah.
because I've had to do the same thing. I do blood testing. And then I know I have other people that I consult with for other things. And I have to pay out of my own money for the additional blood tests that I think should be covered.
Absolutely.
Under
It should be covered.
the outrageous amount of money I pay for my health.
Mhm.
So I'm invested in it that way with my family. I want everybody in my family to do that. But it's just an unbelievable pain in the
It's a
ass
racket.
that you have to do this.
Mhm.
And all of the tips that you gave were good little tidbits of just trying some different things. So
Natural things, easy
Yeah.
things. Don't have to go to the doctor for it.
yeah, it's like going to the grocery store. I mean, my wife and I always say we don't shop in the middle of the store.
Stay on the outside.
Stay on the outside.
Stay on the outside. And if you
Everything
can buy
that's
organic, buy
semi
organic.
good for you is on the outside. Everything in the middle of the grocery store is not good for you at all. So it makes it a lot easier when we go.
Which is why
Because most of the people are in the middle aisles, so I don't have to worry about jamming up against someone or being blocked in because someone wants to get a potato chip or
So
something.
that's
yes,
why-
money and
that's why
power,
Kroger
and they want to keep you
alcohol.
sick,
Yeah,
so that they can
exactly.
continue to make money off of you. Yes.
Just wanted to know if, would something like this be covered by our HSA or in some cases FSA?
Depends on
Okay.
your card. So if they have opened up to being able to pay for anything, yes, I accept it, but sometimes the card itself won't go through
Okay,
because they have a very narrow window of what they accept.
okay, got it, all right.
Good question. What else? What are you guys walking away with? One thing. How many times do you need to chew your food?
20 to 30.
Okay, all right. I win!
How can you convince your 8-year-old parents to not
Oh my gosh.
have diet everything that they drink, eat? Cause it's engraved since 1980, whatever. Parents have been doing everything is it's all sugar-free, everything.
I mean, if you can reason with them, show them the research.
See, I have the opposite one.
Really?
I need to get my mother to quit giving my father. My dad doesn't like sugar, but he's got the dementia. So he doesn't need the sugar, but because she likes the sugar, he gives it to him. And it's like, just stop, Mom, he doesn't want it.
I don't have a good answer for the psychological part of things. But I do feel
like
like
you say baby steps, I might just say one thing.
Hey, try this.
Have some real yogurt.
Or if you show them maybe the cookie thing, that the diet one is 300 calories and the non is 325, just tell them it's only 25 calories. I did that one, and it did work a little. When I started showing them, it's only 25 more calories, but it's got a lot more yucky stuff in it, but it's a lot less than what this box has.
If you figure that one out, let me know. I have a few people in my life that I wish, stop drinking the Diet Coke, please. If you're gonna drink Coke, I don't like Coke, it's because there's so many chemicals in it, but if you're gonna drink it, just drink the regular Coke, don't drink the diet.
I stopped drinking Coke in high school when I found out how good it was to use the rust from foam. It is a chemical. Trucks transporting it have to use chemical plastics. Because it is a hazardous waste. And we're drinking.
Well, we're not drinking it. We're not drinking it, other people are drinking it. Questions for me? Yes,
So, how do you feel about like almond milk or oat milk?
I'm not a fan.
Okay. Why?
It's too processed.
Okay.
So you're not getting any of the nutrients. So I would prefer milk, cow's milk, sheep's milk. There are a number of milks that are okay, or water. That's what I would prefer. When we talk about oats, not only having glyphosate in it, but how it's processed, the proteins are denatured. So it's creating more inflammation than it's actually helping. And oat milk in particular has a shit ton of sugar in it.
Yeah.
That's why it's so good, yeah. It's fantastic. Microsteps, right? I have one thing, just pick one thing today and implement that. Cool. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. If you don't want to tell me, tell these guys, give them some feedback. I want to make sure that you guys are getting the value out of this. I don't want to waste your time. So if you have questions about sleep, you can email me, you can talk to these guys, you have feedback about this presentation, good, bad, and different. Let us know. I want to make sure that you guys are getting something good out of it. So thank you for coming. Enjoy the brownies.
Thank you, Cheryl.